Hi, I'm Ryan Goodall, the founder of the Military Wallet. Today I'm joined by Ryan Bell. Ryan has over 20 years experience in the VA loan industry and he served in the Army National Guard. Ryan, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Ryan. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming. We're going to talk a little bit about using your VA loan again. So I've
Okay.
used my VA loan. My wife is also a veteran, and when we got married, she had a VA loan as well. So how does that work? Let's say I have a house. I want to use it again. Maybe I'm going to sell my house, move somewhere. Help me out.
Yeah, so it is a lifetime benefit that you've earned. Some people know that, some people don't. So it's always important that we educate veterans and current service members like you'll have this the rest of your life as long as you keep that entitlement in good standing, right? So if you own a home on a VA loan right now, you could move, possibly rent it out if you have entitlement left and buy another home with your VA benefit. Or you could sell it, which fully restores your entitlement and you can use it again. But you'll have this the rest of your life. So pretty cool.
Awesome. So I buy a house. My wife and I live in it. We decide we want to sell it. We sell our house. We move somewhere else.
Yep,
That restores our benefit, and we can use the full benefit. We're good to go.
that's right.
Is there a limit on how many times we can do this?
There's no limit on how many times you can do it. I've known folks to use it half a dozen times.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, you can use your VA home loan benefit and put money down. You can. It's just that you don't have to. You can still put 5% down, 10% down. The benefit is still that you don't have to pay private mortgage insurance, so that keeps your payment a little bit lower compared to conventional loans. You might get a little better interest rate on the VA loan, so people might ask, well, if I'm putting money down, why would I go VA? Well, there's still benefits to it, right? But each time you use it, shouldn't have to put money down unless you get into some owning multiple properties on a VA, and there's some entitlement calculations that we have to do. But if your entitlement is fully restored after you sell that home, we'll get a new certificate of eligibility for you, and you take that, find out how much your certificate's good for this time around, go home shopping again. You just do that over and over.
Perfect. Rinse and repeat.
That's right.
That sounds like the easiest situation, right? So
Yeah.
I buy the house, live in the house, sell it, full restoration of benefits, do it as many times as I want. I heard you say partial benefits, you still have some benefit left over.
Yep.
How do I know if I have benefit left over and how much that is, and how does that work toward buying a new home?
It's a great question, and it can put a pretzel in some folks' minds about how this all works. And I want to encourage everybody to not put all of that weight on your shoulders or the veteran service member's shoulders on finding out how much you can get the next time around. If you have more than one VA loan out at a time, which you can do, it's called second tier entitlement, like another level. You still have to move into the next home, but there's a different dollar amount that you'll be allowed to borrow. We've already used it once. If you have some entitlement left over, what will happen is the VA will issue you another certificate and saying, hey Ryan, you've used this much of your entitlement. This time around, your certificate could be used up to this amount of dollars, taking into account how much entitlement you have, just that's able to be spread around, if you will. So the dollar amount requirements are normally given by the VA and your lender. You can calculate it on your own. It is an equation that service members can do, but normally the lender will tell you. Whatever lender you're talking to, your VA specialized lenders can get your certificate for you most of the time, or you can get your own certificate and you hand that to the lender and say, here's my certificate of eligibility. I have some entitlement left. One, you want to ask that lender, do you do second tier entitlement? Some lenders don't. A lot of them do, a lot of them don't. Either they don't know how, they don't specialize in it, or it's just not something they choose to dabble in. But there are lenders out there that do, which is where a lot of service members may think they'll talk to one lender and the lender's like, no, you can't have more than one VA loan out at a time, when you can. So it's important you get the correct information. But that lender that does second tier entitlement will take your certificate and say, okay, here's how much you can get this next time around. If you don't sell your original home and fully restore your entitlement, if you want to keep that original VA loan open, if you want to take out a second VA loan, here's your new dollar amount.
Okay, so I've worked with a lender, and I still have my house. I'm living in it. The lender said, yep, you've got this much entitlement left. This is what you can buy on a new home. can I just start looking at maybe I get a second home or vacation property? Can I do something like that with a VA loan if I still have some entitlement left over?
Wouldn't that be great, right? I get asked that a lot. So it needs to be your primary residence. Every time you use a VA loan, it needs to be your primary residence. So you could, let's say you purchased your original home. You have to sign something at closing saying it's my primary residence, actually live in it. And if you want to use the VA loan again, because the purpose of the VA loan is to give a veteran or service member a place to live, you'd have to move into the next home that you buy. So it wouldn't be a second home or a vacation home or anything like that. I also get asked, can I buy it and my kids live in it? Can I buy it and somebody else live in it? It always will have to be the service member, not always, but the service member will need to move into the home and make it their primary residence unless you get into some surviving spouse situations, which is a little more rare.
And that makes sense. That's the intent of the VA loan. But I brought that question up because it's something that I've had asked to me before as well.
Yeah.
So when you're buying a home with the VA loan, as Ryan said, the intent is to give a veteran access to a loan so they can buy a home for their primary residence. It's not designed for second homes or vacation properties or rental properties. Now, there are ways you can do that if you intend to live in it. So, if I lived in the house first and then I moved because the military moves me across to a new base, I can keep that old house and I can then rent it out. It turns into a rental property. And then at that point, if I buy another house that becomes my primary, that would be a good opportunity for me to use that secondary entitlement.
Yep, absolutely. That is how you would move into the first home, live in it a while. You could rent it out if you wanted to. If you didn't want to sell it, go use your second tier entitlement to purchase another home. Now you've got a rental property and another primary residence and setting yourself up for retirement if you want, all that. But
and you were able to use the VA loan to purchase both of those.
That's right. Yep.
So, and you might even be able to do something like that because I know I used to live in Illinois and there were a lot of snowbirds up there. So if somebody were to split time equally, or maybe they bought a house, say, down in Florida or Texas or Arizona, and they intended to live there as a primary residence but keep their home in, say, Illinois or anywhere up north, that might be another opportunity where you could buy a second home, but that second home really becomes your primary at that point. Would that be another opportunity to use a VA loan?
It could. You need to live in the new home a majority of the year, and your income can't change. So a lot of folks will say, well, I'm going to purchase in Florida, and I'll move into it. And the lender might say, and the VA might say, well, but your job is in New York. So are you moving jobs down to Florida? No. Florida will be my primary residence, but my job's in New York. Well, we're going to need a letter saying that your job will continue if you move to Florida into that home. Well, so they're going to ask those questions. What will your income look like when you move into the new home? So it really does need to be your primary residence. As long as you're in it a majority of the year. I mean, no one's going to come knock on your door and say, well, hey, you were back home seeing your family for a month, why aren't you in Florida? No one's going to do that, but it really does need to be your primary, and they're going to check on that through where's your income come from. And
sure. Now, if you're a retiree, for example, and you've got that military pension coming in every month, and you're going to legitimately live in that house, that might be an opportunity. But if you're trying to pull a fast one, it sounds like there are checks and balances in there to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, it's not even worth the risk. I mean, just if you're going to move into it, great. If you're not, I wouldn't sign something saying it's going to be your primary residence, because then you get into mortgage fraud and
we don't want to do anything like that. But that's good to know, right? So as long as it's going to be your primary residence, then you can use the VA loan for it. Now let's take a little different look at it. Let's say I own I owned a property that I purchased with a VA loan, and something happened with my finances. Things didn't turn out well, and I defaulted on the loan.
Yep.
Is there a way? Do I lose that benefit for life? Can I get it restored? Because sometimes things happen that are outside of our control.
Yep.
Is there a way to restore that benefit at that point?
I'm genuinely glad that you asked that, because a lot of folks think if you use the VA home loan and that home gets foreclosed on, VA takes a loss, or whatever the situation was or is, a lot of people think you can't use it again. But just like how you have second tier entitlement to purchase potentially a second home and have 2 VA loans out at a time, well, depending on the loss that's taken on the first VA home loan, let's say a foreclosure happened, there may be some entitlement left for you. Generally speaking, you need to wait at least 2 years if something like that happens, and then go get your certificate of eligibility. And if there's some entitlement left, and often there is, you take that to a lender, explain what happened, but I still have entitlement. I have a new certificate of eligibility, and I would like to use my second tier entitlement for another VA home loan. So a lot of folks think that you can't use it again, but you could. So pretty neat.
So it sounds like it depends on the amount that was in default and how much you borrowed originally, and then if there is some left over, you may be able to get that restored after there's been kind of some seasoning time, and hopefully that's enough time for you to get back on your feet and get your finances back in order.
Exactly that.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, it sounds like, let me recap this real fast, but it sounds like if I'm buying a house for my primary residence, and I live in it for a while, I sell it, I get the full restoration of my benefit, I can go do that, buy a new home, I can rinse and repeat a dozen times, it's a lifetime benefit, I never lose it in that situation. Is that a good statement?
More power to you,
Perfect.
yes.
Okay, now, I buy a house, and then for some reason, I'm going to move into another one. Maybe it's a PCS, maybe I want to have, move down to Florida, but keep my old home. At that point, if there's some additional benefit left over, I could potentially get a second tier or a secondary loan through a mortgage company, as long as they offer those, and then I could use that VA benefit again.
That's right. Yep, you can get a new certificate of eligibility. It will show on there that some of it's being used on the original loan, and that lender will be able to tell you, here's how much we can lend you this second time around.
Awesome. So. Okay, and then the final situation was maybe you defaulted on a previous loan, you used a portion of that benefit. As long as you didn't do the whole thing, you may still have some entitlement left over, and you could potentially use that down the road.
That's right. Yeah, if the situation changes, you're in a better position to purchase a home again. There should be hopefully some entitlement left for you, and you should explore using your VA benefit again a second time or another time.
Well, Ryan, thanks so much. Look, if you're going to use a VA loan to buy a house, you can use it again. This is not a one-and-done benefit. This is a lifetime benefit that you've earned. So be sure to talk to your lender or a real estate professional. They can help you understand what your benefit is, and they can help you use that. Ryan, thanks so much for coming out and sharing this information with our audience. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for your service.